Hey y'all, it's Rachel. Welcome back to Ghost and Glitter. Today I'm going to be talking about my very first time reading Darcy Coates. Darcy Coates is an author that is super prevalent in the horror community. A lot of people love her, a lot of people are just kind of meh about her, but wherever you stand, like, she is a name that is kind of everywhere in horror. She is super well known, especially for like her haunting books. Like, she comes out with a lot of haunted house books, but she also has like a range of other things where she's kind of gotten outside of her horror subgenre and explored some stuff. But she's been on my radar for literally years, and I've been wanting to read one of hers for a while, and I just never have. So I read The Haunting of Rookward House. I just grabbed it. It was one of the only, I think my library had like 3 of hers, and that one was available, so I grabbed it. I know a lot of her stuff is available on Kindle Unlimited, but I don't have that right now. So, and I also wanted, a physical book. So I read The Haunting of Rookward House. So in this book, we're following our main character, Guy. He's recently moved back in with his mother. Her name is Heather. After he's had like this really bad breakup with his girlfriend or fiance, I can't remember which, but very serious significant other. Her name is Savannah. So they had a really messy breakup. We don't know exactly what happened. We just know that it was a big deal. And so Guy has moved in with his mom, and they're struggling financially. And whatever happened between Guy and Savannah is also big town gossip news. And everyone in town that knows Heather, that knows Savannah, that knows Guy, hates Guy, and is therefore also mad at his mom, Heather, for taking him back in and forgiving him of whatever happened between Guy and Savannah. So because of that, Guy and his mother, Heather, are ostracized from their community. They are financially unstable, and they just really want to be able to move somewhere new, get a fresh start where no one knows them, and just start over. But they don't have the finances to do that. So one day, Guy and his mom are in the attic just cleaning things out, throwing things away, and they find the deeds to this old like manor house, Rookward House. And his mom's like, "Oh, I forgot about this." And Guy's like, "How did you forget that you had a house in your name? Like, what the heck?" And basically, Guy gets this idea that, well, there's this huge house that no one lives in, no one's using. Why don't I go there, fix it up, and we can sell it, make a profit, and take that money, move out of this town, get a new life. And his mom's just kind of like, I don't know. But Guy's like, "No, I'm going to do it." So this house is huge. It's abandoned and shambles. It's pretty far removed from any community, or just kind of out in the middle of nowhere. There's no cell service. There's no lights or running water. There's no power. So it's pretty isolated, and Guy's mother is not super thrilled with the idea of him going out there and not being able to contact people. So Guy gets to the house. He's brought a sleeping bag. He's brought some food, some water, and some supplies for, fixing windows, floorboards, tearing down vines, just cleaning up the house. And he also finds, when he gets to the house, that all of the items of the family that previously lived there are still there. There's clothes, there's couches, like fully furnished, old, of course, decrepit. And like there's still food on the table, and he's like, "What happened here? Like, did they just disappear?" Like, he knows nothing about the previous owners of the house. So yeah, it's starting to look like the previous owners have just up and disappeared whenever they lived there. But Guy is determined. He's just working on getting the house cleaned, fixed up enough to be able to sell, make a profit. The longer Guy stays at Rookward House, strange things start happening, the more uncomfortable he starts to feel. Some of the things that start happening are baby monitors begin crackling at night. He starts hearing footsteps in the above bedrooms. He's hearing doors slam, closet doors are opening when they should stay closed. And he starts seeing a figure appear in the window or in the corner of his eye. But he just thinks all of this is just, his imagination, as most people do in haunted house stories, and convinces himself to explain away these different things, creepy things that are happening. So basically, Guy has to decide whether he wants to stick to his original plan of remodeling the house a bit and then selling it, or if he just wants to get back home, back to safety and sanity. But his ghostly roommate is very possessive, and they are wanting him to stay. So along with Guy's story with remodeling the house and the creepy things happening, along with his story, we're also getting kind of a flashback story from back in the 1960s. The family that used to live there, Thomas, and I believe his wife's name is Louise, and their 3 children. It's a family of 5. The family that used to live there also were experiencing strange happenings. So we get these flashbacks throughout the story of what really was happening in the 1960s, and connecting all of that back to what's happening to Guy. That's the basic plot. I don't want to say any more because I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, that's basically what we got going on in the book. So with that out of the way, I'm going to talk a little bit about the characters, my overall thoughts of the book, and then will I read another Darcy Coates again? So the characters. Guy. If I could explain him in 3 words, it would be typical, average, and determined. He was a character. He made some dumb decisions, but he was resourceful. He annoyed me at times, but in the end, I was still rooting for him. He wasn't one of those characters that I was just like, oh my gosh, I hope the ghost gets you. You know, I was rooting for him. He was just kind of an average dude. There's nothing special about him. Sorry. And then we have his mom. Heather was endearing, kind, but unfortunately, she was kind of underdeveloped for me. I really wish that we got to see more of his mom, actually. I know the majority of this book is isolated. You know, we have Guy going to the house by himself. That's the reason it's scary, is because it's just this one person trying to survive a ghost. But Heather had potential to be a really strong, good character that, I don't know, I immediately liked her in the first few chapters with her, but she just kind of fell to the wayside and was just kind of a character to exist, to have the attic in which to find the deeds. You know, like, she didn't really play a part in the story hardly at all. And while I get that like, she didn't really matter, she wasn't supposed to matter, she mattered to me, and I would have liked to see more of her. Then the other characters are the family from the 1960s. I kind of immediately was attached to all of these characters, not really the kids, I guess, because you didn't really get to experience any scenes directly with the kids back in the 1960s, but the dad and the mom, Thomas and Louise, yeah, I think that was her name. I really liked them. They felt really fleshed out, honestly. They were more developed than Heather and kind of a little more developed than Guy. And that's saying a lot because we didn't get a lot of flashbacks. But I did really like the family. I wanted more of their story, actually. I thought the flashbacks were equally as creepy as the main portion of the book with Guy. Sometimes I thought it was a little more creepy than the main portion of the book with Guy. And I really would have loved to see a more equal, not totally equal, but like the balance between Guy's story and the 1960s story was literally like that. And then the other character, the other main character besides Guy, is the ghost. And I'm not going to say much about the ghost, because even though you find out who the ghost is fairly early on, I think it's kind of fun going in not really knowing who is haunting the house, because obviously there is a death or more than one death in the house. We know this, it's a haunted house, but it's fun not knowing what spirit is trapped there, for me anyway. So I'm just going to refer to the ghost. Again, I would have liked more of the 1960s portion, because I think the ghost's character is a really interesting character, and I think it would have been fun to have that entire story more fleshed out. Like, it was fleshed out enough that I got the gist of it, but I would have liked more work done. I guess all of that kind of brings me into my overall impressions of the book. One of my favorite things about haunted house stories is the reason it's haunted. It's not just the haunting, but I like the dark and gritty details of what happened there to cause a spirit to be trapped there, or what happened there for this house to be in the condition that it is. And this book really just gave the bare minimum of backstory of the house and super focused on the haunting. And that's all well and good, but I love a good backstory, and I really like the potential of the 1960s backstory. Like the details, what I got were really good, and it could have been juicier. The book also felt about 30 pages too long. There were a couple of sections where I was just like, is this really necessary? Like, let's move on just a little quicker, you know? In the last third of the book, I guess, the ghosts got some like random powers that I wasn't expecting. That wasn't set up kind of earlier on. So when it happens in the last third of the book, I'm just kind of like, you can do that? So that, it didn't really bother me, but it did pull me out of the story a little bit, because I was sucked in to this book. For the most part, like I was in it. I wasn't distracted by anything going on around me. Like I was able to visualize everything clearly. It's really well written, but the powers thing kind of made me like pull back out and go like, wait, oh, I'm reading a book. This is weird. What? Yeah. And like I said, I was kind of more interested in the before than the present, which is unfortunate because the before is only maybe a 16th of the book all in all. But positive things, now that I've kind of griped a little bit, I guess. My positive things were the atmosphere, the vibes were so good. It was creepy, it was cozy, which is exactly what I was hoping and looking for. Like I said, it was easy to get into once I was in it. It was super fun. It was a quick read, and overall, I'm really glad I read it. I was looking at some reviews on Goodreads after I finished it, because I don't really like to read a ton of reviews before I read a book. Because if I'm excited about it, I don't want it to taint my thoughts on it. So overall, like the average on Goodreads is a 3.9, but I saw a lot of the top reviews were like 3, 2, 1 stars. And I was like, this is interesting that a lot of people are saying, you know, this isn't my favorite, or this was just okay. Because that made me feel a little bit more valid. Like, okay, this isn't representative of all of her work. Obviously, no one book, it typically is representative of one person's work. So that being said, I definitely will be reading more from Darcy Coates. I definitely want to read 1 or 2 more of her like straight up haunted house books, because even though this one didn't totally do it for me, the actual haunted house vibes were really good. I love, you know, I'm a sucker for, you know, a closet door being closed and then being opened, the footsteps running up and down the hallway, apparitions just kind of appearing and disappearing. Like that stuff does it for me. That's just good, cozy stuff that if I was alone, it would probably give me chill bumps or like make me not want to cut off the light. Because as much as I love horror, the cheesy, typical, stereotypical like jump scares and just ghostly things really do freak me out. So yeah, if I was alone, I think this book would have like made me a little uncomfy in a good way. So I definitely want to read more of Darcy Coates' straight up haunted house books. But she's also written a handful of books that are outside of that spectrum, and I'm really fascinated by 2 in particular, because they're both in kind of horror subgenres that I really, really love. So the first one I'm interested in is Parasite. That's like a space sci-fi horror. All I know it is like there's the moon and a parasite. Like we're on the moon and there's a parasite and things are happening. And that's just, I love stuff like that. And I did really like her writing, so I want to give that one a shot. I also want to try From Below, which seems to be kind of an aquatic horror, like kind of Titanic-esque sunken ship tragedy thing. I love aquatic horror, if you didn't know. That is, yes. So I do want to try, I do want to check that out as well. So while my first Darcy Coates wasn't the shining 5 stars that I was hoping, it was still a really fun experience. I had a good time with it. not upset that I read it. It was middle of the road for me, but I think I'm going to give it like a 3.25, 3.5. It was a quick read. It was fun. I don't regret any of it, and I definitely will be checking out more from her because I feel like she could be an author that I really, really vibe with, especially if I want a cozy, spooky buffer read between some of maybe the intense horror things I'm reading or some of like the fluffier romances that I'm hoping to read next month. Sometimes you still want fluffy but creepy, and I think she can fit the bill for me on that one. So that is my first impressions of Darcy Coates. I'd love to know what other people's favorite Darcy Coates are, maybe what haunted house book I should read next. So let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to hear more of my ramblings about books and things. Oh, Fern didn't make an appearance. Let me show you Fern. She's been really grumpy today. Fernie, come up. Tell the people hello. Oh, or push the people away. This is Fern. She says hi. Say hi. She's staring out the window. She has a good vantage point now. All right. I hope you all have a great day and a great rest of your week, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.